Yeah, that's a good question. And in fact, I had a conversation with a pastor about that just this week. The question of, will this turn the tide? So what may be behind that is we will not do anything that doesn't turn the tide. But that's not really what we see, for example, with the Old Testament prophets, really even with the ministry of Christ. When Christ died, he hadn't done much of anything. The most he had was John and his mother and a couple other women at a distance from him. His disciples had left him. When he died, he looked like a complete failure, having accomplished nothing. Here's the thing. Our job is to be faithful to Christ. And especially the Old Testament prophets, oftentimes they went out there with no backup, with no support, and their job was to proclaim what was supposed to be proclaimed. We see that with Jonah, for example, had a very, shall we say, unfriendly, not warm and fuzzy feeling message, 40 days and 40 nights and Nineveh will be destroyed. But God blessed what he did. And what our job is to do as people who love him, to love Christ, and are grateful to be saved, that someone else shared the gospel with us. Our job is to share the gospel, proclaim the kingship of Christ to anyone we can, and the results belong to God. They do not belong to us. They have never belonged to us. And I keep going back to Isaiah's job. There in Isaiah 6, we all love to say, here am I, send me, and this shows up at the missions conference, and good for Isaiah. But afterwards, in that conversation he had with God, he asked how long? Actually before that, backing up a little bit, God had said, go and tell these people that they're in big trouble, basically. And Isaiah wants to know how long. And God says, until these people are carried away, there's no one left. And of course, if you're Isaiah, you're going to be asking, well, what good is my job then? You know what? Not Isaiah's problem. Not Isaiah's concern. His concern was to get the word of God right. And if you look at, Jeremiah and Ezekiel, those kinds of things are said to Jeremiah and Ezekiel. Listen, don't worry about the results. Worry about getting my word right. You're my spokesman. Don't mess with my word. So we worry about getting the word of God correct to our neighbors who need it. We do not worry about anything else, quite frankly.